It's a new week and a new episode of the Red Mountain Express. I am your host, Blake Westbrook. Joining me, as always, is Matthew Joyner. We have a pretty good show for you today, a lot in store. Some complete streets are going to happen in Avondale. AT&T has a new owner, or the AT&T building has a new owner, and the theater district's going to get some redevelopment in a couple of its buildings. But with that, Matthew, how was your weekend?
Hang on, first, look at you coming in with a new intro, spicing things up a little bit, trying to give a little...
well, apparently AT&T got sold when I said it, but then I had to correct that part.
No, it's good. Had a good weekend. It was a little bit wet, a little bit damp outside.
But it wasn't cold.
No, it wasn't cold. It was warm, which was nice. I mean, of course, yesterday afternoon it sunned up a little bit. It was a little bit nicer. It gave my wife and I an excuse to hang around inside and do some work on the nursery, which is needed.
How many more weeks we got till Baby Joiner's here?
We've still got
a month and a half?
Just about 2 months. What is today? Today's the 17th, 18th?
18th right now.
Yeah, we've got just under 2 months, give or take. I don't, you can't really predict when the baby's going to pop out, but the nursery's coming along. It's looking a whole lot better. You can it functions as a room now and not just a place where there's furniture thrown in, so that's good. Of course, yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. I don't know about you. We didn't really celebrate. I wore a green shirt.
We went somewhere, but it wasn't really celebrating. It was just like, we want to get out of the house.
Sure. We went and saw Black Panther last night.
See, how was it? Everybody says it's good.
I
haven't been yet.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. I know that between the two of us, I'm a bigger Marvel fan than you are.
More of a DC Comics fan myself.
Boo,
I love Batman.
Boo.
I'm talking about, and not either Michael Keaton or Christian Bale.
Sure.
Ben Affleck or George Clooney or even Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer wasn't a bad Batman.
Yes, he was. I went back and saw that in the last couple of months.
You're right. It was terrible.
It was an
but Michael
movie.
Keaton was a good Batman.
Michael Keaton was great.
Yeah, okay.
He is the Batman.
We just went on a Batman thing for a good 35 seconds
it's
there.
cool.
Okay.
So went and saw Black Panther. Really enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm a Marvel fan of this, this run of movies. Have enjoyed all of them in some way or another. But this one was one that I would put in my top 3. I think the storyline was a little bit more serious than I expected in a lot of ways. And I really think that it's one that will appeal to people who aren't strictly fans of these type of movies or the Marvel movies.
So you think it appeals to everybody?
I think overall there are parts of it that will appeal to people in different ways.
I hear the music's really good, too.
The music was really great. I think Kendrick Lamar was really heavily involved in the soundtrack. I really found myself, without even expecting anything or knowing anything about the soundtrack, I found myself enjoying it during the movie. And soundtracks to me are one of those things where if they're done well, then in a movie you may not really notice the music. It may help heighten the sense of what's happening, but you don't really notice it. Every once in a while there's really bad soundtracks. You're like, why did they use that? What's happening right now? And even rarer than that, I can remember a few movies when I'm in the theater and watching them and I'm really enjoying the movie, but something about the soundtrack just really catches me. I'm paying attention to the soundtrack as much as I am the movie and really enjoying it.
I could probably guess a couple of those movies. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou was definitely one of them. My number one, and the one that I really noticed it probably above all others, was The Incredibles.
Ah,
that I love that soundtrack. When the trumpets start and everything starts getting something about that soundtrack, man, it enhanced the movie to a point where I just left the theater thinking, I've never had more fun than watching a movie or watching this movie in the theater.
I was going to say, Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou, and then another Coen Brothers movie, which is called Inside Llewyn Davis. It's kind of folksy music that's really, really good. But also, did you ever see The Big Chill? It's an 80s movie. It's about...
It's been a long time. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And it had a bunch of Motown music that was just, it was just fantastic. And that's what we used to listen to going to the beach as a kid, so a little sidebar there. But anyway, I heard the music's good in it. I heard the movie was really good. Everybody that I've known that has seen the movie had great things to say.
I don't think I have any complaints about it. I can't think of one off the top of my head, at least. Maybe I'll write one down later and we can talk about it again, but I enjoyed the movie thoroughly.
Okay.
Even if it's not until it comes out on video, I recommend everybody see it. I know it's probably nearing its end in the theater run. So, yeah. How about you? How was your weekend?
It was good. We went to Avondale Brewing Company on St. Patrick's Day. Not because it was St. Patrick's Day, just because we wanted to get out of the house and met some friends over there. They had, because it was St. Patrick's Day, they had a band on stage. playing kind of jam band music, which was really, really cool. And there was a ton of people there. And it's still, I can't believe how many people they pack into that place.
It's a pretty sizable place.
It is, and the beer is really good. I had the Scottish ale that they have that's really dark.
Is that the Long Branch?
Yeah, it's so good. I love that stuff. But was there, and then and Megan's cousin is still staying with us or for the next week or so. He's got some job interviews in town, and we kind of just showed him around Birmingham, and it was a good week. It was a really good week. I saw a movie, not in the theater, but I saw the not Into the Storm, but it's the new Churchill movie with Gary Oldman.
Yeah. Wait. Didn't we talk
Darkest
about this?
Hour. Did we talk about this last week?
We talked about this last week. Yeah.
Maybe I've watched it again since then. It's such a good movie. I'm a Churchill fan. So.
Well, and I'm a Churchill fan, and I'm a Gary Oldman fan. Yeah. So I really need to see this movie.
Yeah, there's some things that weren't very factually accurate, but that's okay.
It's a movie.
Exactly.
People take liberties.
I was really happy with it. But yeah, that was my weekend. We didn't do a whole lot. It was just kind of we went to Avondale yesterday, and then baby kind of got tired, and we went home.
Sure.
So yeah,
sounds good.
It was great.
Yeah. All right. So we have got several big stories. I know you mentioned a couple of them at the top of the show. What I want to do is go ahead and cut to our break and come back so we can jump into the meat of the episode here.
It's fine with me. Let's hear from our friends over at Beach and Woodworks, and remember, heirloom quality furniture. Beach and Woodworks is a locally owned and operated wood shop in Birmingham, Alabama, specializing in custom furniture and small home goods. Chris and Kanan Beecham create a wide variety of unique pieces of all sizes, ranging from cutting boards to farmhouse tables. Using wood sourced from Alabama sawmills, Beach and Woodworks creates affordable quality pieces that will be a one-of-a-kind fixture for your home. So support your local woodworker and visit redmountainexpress.com/woodworks or check them out on their Facebook and Instagram accounts. Beach and Woodworks, turning your house into a home.
And welcome back to episode 36 of the Red Mountain Express.
36 or 37?
36. Did you say 37 earlier?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I was just wondering.
Yeah, we're at 36.
It's March. We're coming up on a year anniversary of us conceiving this child.
Yeah, I actually got the email from Google to re-up on our
I need to do
our
that.
DNS.
The website?
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to go ahead and do that, don't I?
Yeah. We're coming up on a year.
Yeah, if we lapse on that, do you have to rebuild the website?
No, I won't have to rebuild the website, but somebody could come in and buy that URL out from under us.
You think one of our friends that listens to this would do that and force us to pay them a lot of money? It's called cyber squatting, right?
Yeah. Let's not suggest that.
I think we just suggested it. I'll do it this week. I'll do it tomorrow, I promise.
Yeah, no, it's hard to imagine that we're coming up close to a year now.
What do you got for everybody?
So, first thing I want to talk about from this week is that Mayor Woodfin, AL.com reports that Mayor Woodfin is seeking to implement 2-term limits for the office of Birmingham mayor.
I saw that. Now, I know that it wouldn't count toward this term, but it would start at his if he was reelected, right?
Right. So right now in Birmingham, there are no term limits for mayor. They're seeking to introduce a bill for the 2018 legislative session. Most likely won't be passed in this session. It'll probably be passed 2019.
Yeah, and because I think that they're well into this legislative session. It will probably end in a couple weeks. As soon as they pass their budgets, they're going to try to get out of there because it's an election year and they want to go and campaign.
Right.
But it's probably go ahead and introduce it, test it out with the local delegation, and just kind of see where they go. But they could pass it in 2019 easily. Yeah,
and the AL.com article did not mention or went out of their way to mention that they didn't know if there was a co-sponsor or a sponsor for this bill at this point. So that'll be interesting to see who gets involved in this. But the bill, in part at least, states that upon taking office following the municipal election held in 2021, the mayor shall be eligible to succeed himself in office following that term, but shall not be eligible to succeed himself for more than one additional term. So, like I said, where we have no limit now, this would effectively create a 2-term limit. And like you said, it wouldn't apply to his current term. It would start with his next term if he were elected.
So he could have 2 more terms after this, but that would be it.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if this is in the article, and I'm just going to ask you this, but let's say he wins 2 terms, and then he's up. He can't run for office again. Can he come back after 4 years?
I don't know because I haven't read the bill in whole. I've only read this excerpt. I would imagine that that's not a possibility. I don't know why they would write this bill much differently than how you see other
term limit bills.
Right.
You know, in Alabama, before, at least in the governor's office, and I can't speak to the other constitutional officers, but up until, I want to say it was the 70s, you couldn't succeed yourself as governor. You could run 4 years, and you'd have to take a year off, and you could come back.
Yeah.
And that only happened in the 1970s, I think, when the bill was amended. That's how you got Lurleen Wallace as the governor, because George Wallace ran her as a proxy.
Yep.
But how do you feel about term limits?
I am completely 100% good with term limits in our current political climate. I think term limits, especially for offices like mayor, for president, they do a couple of different things, but I think one is they protect the people who are under these offices, the citizens of, let's say, Birmingham or the United States. If you got somebody in there that was doing a terrible job, you want term limits. I think a second thing it does is it helps bring in new blood. So let's say Woodfin is in here for 2 terms, or effectively 3 terms if he wins 3 terms, or 2 more terms after this. You want somebody to come in after those 3 terms that has new ideas and a fresh outlook and can bring their own ideas to the table. I think that's a good thing. I think you want that. I think you want that refreshment from time to time.
Refreshing democracy.
Right, exactly. Of course, we're talking right now about mayors and presidents, but I also think we need term limits for our members of the House and Senate. I think you have people in office for so long that because there's so much money involved in politics these days, they are there for the money and less for the job at a certain point in their career. So I think term limits are important to help kind of keep that in check, per se.
Well, when it comes to executive office like president and maybe
mayor.
mayors and governors, I'm okay with term limits. I'm not strictly for them, but I'm okay with them just because there's a lot of power in those offices. I mean, Roosevelt was president for 12 years, and if he'd have made it through his last term, it'd have been 16. So maybe some people think that's maybe too long. The only thing I have a problem with, I think that sometimes we would lose, and I think more than not, you would lose people that are dedicated public servants who know the ins and outs of the governments that they serve and serve their constituents very well. And I think all it would do would be pump new blood just for the sake of new blood. And sometimes that's not good. I mean, let's say Randall Woodfin serves out his term limits, and he's done an excellent job, and he's got ideas for the future, and he's not allowed to serve anymore because of the limits that he wants to impose. Let's be honest with that. But something worth exploring. I'm not sure on the legislative level if I'd like term limits, or on the congressional level, even the Senate level, but executives, I can see it. Definitely merits discussion.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And, of course, this is one of those topics I think me and you could probably debate for a while longer, but this is not that episode.
Yeah, no, it's not a Star Wars episode, man. It's not a Star Wars episode.
Another thing I want to bring up real quick is that the AT&T building, that massive 30-story, 700,000 square foot building on our skyline, has been sold.
Yeah, the AT&T is no longer at the top. It used to be the South Central Bell building. That was the headquarters of South Central Bell until it became Bell South.
Ma Bell.
Yeah, Ma Bell. And then they moved it to Nashville, and that's the Batman building. That's where Bell South was. It's been vacant. It's vacant now, right?
Right. So AT&T's lease ran out earlier this year, late last year.
Yeah, and they moved everybody to their big building over here in River Chase.
Yeah, the Data Drive location.
Yeah, it's huge.
So the building is completely empty, so far as I can tell. And the Bank of New York Mellon Trust Company, who owned the building, has sold it to a company called 600 North 19th Street LLC.
Now, tell me, Matthew, what is so interesting about that address?
The interesting thing, I'm glad you asked, about 600 North 19th Street LLC is that the address of the AT&T building is 600 19th Street North. This is a company that is registered to an address in Stamford, Connecticut. That is all we know about it.
It's an insurance company. It's got to be. I mean, it's an insurance capital of the world.
An insurance company or somebody that has made a lot of money in one of those companies and it's just decided, hey, I'm going to buy a building.
You know what I think?
Uh-huh.
I think we just found a new headquarters for operations, my friend. Put a big RME at the top of the building.
What are we going to do with 30 stories and 700,000 square feet?
Okay, so there's 30 stories.
Uh-huh.
How many episodes we've had?
36.
We'd be working right the way back through again.
Sure.
Floor an episode. we would talk about.
Are we going to move to different floors every?
Absolutely.
Huh.
Hey, coming to you from the 6th floor. It would help us keep count of how many episodes we're on.
So if you have $29.25 million, maybe we can make an offer.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
I have 29 million, but not 0.5. So,
All right.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
Okay.
So the Bank of New York Mellon Trust Company has sold to this 600 North 19th Street LLC for $29.25 million. As I said, the name of the company being the address of the building points out that this company was created with the intent of buying this building, and that's it.
It could be a company formed off of a larger company that they're just going to use it for real estate. I mean, just to come in and lease.
Buy it, lease it, or do some renovations and sell it again?
Well, we talked previously about this being, I think they said hotels, restaurants, maybe residential space. Is that
think
right?
When we talked about the story several months back about AT&T's lease being up, I think there were some proposals thrown out about making it a mixed-use space. At this point, though, this being sold to a company whose intent we don't know, that's all up in the air. We don't know if that's actually going to happen. Biz Journals did receive a statement from a representative of the new owner that said, "We are excited about the future of downtown Birmingham and the many possibilities presented by this unique building." That's it. That was the statement. Doesn't tell us anything about what they're planning to do. Based on the name of the company, we have no idea what they're going to do. It's a mystery right now.
And it's a big building.
It's
I think
huge building.
Square footage-wise, at one point it was the biggest building in Alabama. Square footage-wise, not on height, but
I would be surprised if it's not currently still in the top 10.
oh, it's easily. Easily.
700,000 square feet is a lot of space.
And see, Amazon could have come, and that could have been their building, but no, they had to want to go to Atlanta. You saw what they did with NRA in Atlanta.
Yeah,
we'd have given you the whole building. We'd have sold it to you for $20 million.
Hey, Delta's needing new headquarters. Well, maybe not needing, but maybe we can entice them.
What are they going to do? Land on top of the building, man?
They could. It's a massive building. I really like this building. I think it's one of my favorite buildings on the skyline. I did not realize it's been a part of the skyline since 1972.
Have you ever been there? You ever been up in the top of the building?
No, I never have.
I have.
Been around it.
It's quite a view. It's way up there. It'll be interesting. We'll follow up on the story, and if we can find out anything new, we will let you know. The theater district is going to be redeveloped, or some areas going to be redeveloped. The Graves building, I think the half of it, and the Roberts and Son printing, which is near both the Alabama Theater and the Lyric Theater, are going to be redeveloped for residential and commercial space. If you go online to Corporate Realty and the number1.com, they have the plan together. But I am very excited about this. This would only enhance the theater district, which you've had, the Lyric Theater come online in the last couple of years. The Alabama Theater has had some new stuff happen over there, and they always have great film festivals. But the rest of the buildings on that street are vacant and are in serious need of repair, and that's going to start this. If you get more people to live around that area, the better it'll be.
Yeah, I love the idea of us having a theater district that has options for people other than just the Lyric and the Alabama Theater.
And the Carver. I didn't mean to mention the Carver Theater as well.
Oh, yeah. And I do often forget about the Carver Theater just because I don't hear people talking about the Carver Theater.
It's the Jazz Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I know. I really wish I could. Oh, not wish. I need to get in there and do some stuff. Yeah. I'm excited about the idea, like I said, of having a theater district with options for people. Let's get some restaurants, some brew pubs. Let's get some living spaces around there. Let's make that area thrive. I think that could really be a really cool city center kind of area for us.
Well, I had a friend of mine that he may still live over there in a loft near the Alabama Theater, and he had great views of his loft. It was big spaces. I just think this is something that is long overdue, and you could see kind of the redevelopment that happened around the park when all these residential spaces came in, and I hope this can happen with the theater district as well.
Sure, yeah. On that note, on a similar note, we talked about complete streets last week. Of course, we mentioned the story several weeks before that, but last week we talked about complete streets ordinance being passed by the city council. Rev Birmingham's website has an article up that mentions that Avondale's 41st Street is going to be one of the first complete street projects.
Now, they've been working on this for a while. They had a contract with the company to kind of make this happen, and it's just by chance that this is going to fall in line with the Complete Streets Ordinance as it's passed. It's going to have better sidewalks, bike lanes, crosswalks, street trees that are designed specifically for street and landscaping that is more conducive to space that there are a lot of pedestrians. And I'll say this. I was in Avondale a couple weeks ago. We parked near Avondale Brewery and walked over to Hot Box. And we weren't the only ones doing that. There are tons of people that do that. And I think this is perfect. It's also a good test case because you could see what works right in this area and what doesn't work. And I think you talked about this street should be shut down at certain times so people could walk.
Well, yeah, several months back we talked about a story that proposed the idea of pedestrian areas in Birmingham, maybe shutting off a piece of a street completely so that...
what was it, 4th Avenue? Or no?
I'd have to go back and look.
It was a pedestrian mall, though, right?
Yeah, basically a pedestrian mall. You take a piece of one street, you shut it down. It's just for pedestrian use. And while we were talking about the story, I remember mentioning that this would be a good idea for Avondale. Like, let's say on a Friday night from 6 p.m. to midnight, you shut down the street completely and it's just a pedestrian area. This is not that, but I think this is a good middle ground. We're going to, see them revamp the area for better circulation for pedestrian, cycling, and vehicular traffic. Like you said, they're going to improve parking and streetscaping. Another big part of this is that they're going to improve the stormwater management. There is several places in the area that are prone to flooding when we have heavy rains. If they can eliminate that through better drainage systems, that's going to be huge. That'll be huge for the businesses and for pedestrian and cycling traffic around there.
Well, and this also gives Avondale an opportunity, I think, when this is finished, to actually apply to be an entertainment district.
Yeah, and that would be huge as well.
Yeah,
Right now, we currently still just have the one, right? Uptown.
Yeah, and we talked about this before we come on the air. There is not a lot of automobile traffic through that area. I mean, I have never been in a traffic jam in Avondale.
No, or had a situation where I, as a pedestrian, had to wait on a lot of traffic.
Most people park over there at the park, or they'll park around Avondale Brewery, and then they'll walk in between.
Yeah,
I think that because of that, this is a perfect, like I said, test case. Let's try this out. Let's make sure this works right, and I think the area will be better for it because not only will you revitalize the streets, but you'll make it more friendly for businesses to open up in that area.
Absolutely. If you live in the area and you're interested in this, you want to be able to give in your input and find out more about the project, they are going to hold a public meeting at Saturn on March the 20th from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Again, that's on March the 20th at Saturn at 5:30. So go to that, get involved, give your input, hear what they have to say about it. Of course, if you find out something new or interesting and you want to, give us your 2 cents, write into our show. Let us know what you're thinking.
When is the time frame for this? Did they say when this is going to start?
From Rev Birmingham's article on their website, I did not see a time frame for projection. I would imagine that after they get through this public meeting, that maybe they'll be closer to giving an actual timeline. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about today, I don't know if you saw this in the news, but earlier in the week, AL.com reported that there's an Alabama bill being proposing moving the state to daylight saving time year round.
So we wouldn't spring forward anymore?
We wouldn't spring
as I'm
forward or
yawning
backward
here on the microphone?
Yeah.
Or no, we wouldn't fall back.
We wouldn't do either.
Yeah.
We would just be on
We would
daylight
stay
saving time.
as the time we were in right now.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that when Georgia falls back, we'll be on the same time zone as Georgia?
Yeah. Yes. This is a bill that was introduced by Senator Rusty Glover. Is being co-sponsored by 27 Republicans and Democrats in the Senate.
Wow, that's like, there's only 35 members of the Senate, so it's pretty much the whole Senate.
Now, so the AL.com article mentioned that Mr. Glover has introduced this bill before and has not met with any success, but if he's got 27 co-sponsors, that's a pretty big deal. I
want to say this legislation is always very popular right after you spring forward.
Right, everybody kind of feels the pain of it that first couple of weeks.
But see, I like falling back.
I like falling back, but if I don't have to do either, I'm cool with that.
I will say that I would rather go to work when it's dark and leave when it's daylight.
I want to come home to daylight.
Yeah.
I have seen some people's opinions that say things like, well, what about kids waiting for the school bus or, people driving to work in the dark. But
And there's an energy thing behind it, right?
Well, that's how it started. It started in World War One.
Maybe.
I'm gonna have to fact check myself
Don't
later.
ask me. I don't know.
I thought you were the big history buff here.
Yeah, but not about daylight savings time.
I did some reading up on it, but of course I didn't write anything down. I have to go and read it again if I want to actually present knowledgeable facts here on the show. That's not what people come to this show for, right?
No,
yeah.
not at all. No. They hear us rant about Star Wars. And
it is an older law that was passed for, in part, energy savings. Of course, several states have, well, not several, 2 states at least, Arizona and Hawaii have already gotten away from this. They are on standard time.
And I think there's some counties in like Indiana that don't observe it either.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
it's kind of weird. Like
interesting.
in Indiana, like you go to one county, it's completely different.
Ooh, that'd be weird.
It is weird.
Yeah, it's weird enough thinking that we would be a state that was on standard time and the states around us would still have time changes. But of course, I'm not traveling over state lines often enough that it really matters.
Well, you see these bills get introduced a lot. You see like a bill in Florida that wants to move all of Florida to the Eastern time zone.
Well, matter of fact, since you mentioned that, I'm going to interject right here. Florida has passed a similar bill last week, and they're just awaiting the governor's signature right now.
But I think there is a overriding federal law that will not recognize it at all. I think it's just...
It has to be approved federally.
Well, I just can't wait for the federal government to ring in on this one. They have nothing else they're doing up there.
No, right? Yeah, it's completely dead up there right now.
I love falling back. Falling back is the greatest thing ever. I had to do my Trump impression.
I'm not I'm not saying anything. So I think this is very interesting. I don't know, based on history, if it has a chance of passing. It looks a little bit more promising than past attempts. I like the idea of it personally.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
I like falling back. I really do. It's like an extra hour of sleep.
And that is.
And trust me, in about a month or so, or 2 months, you're going to understand where I'm coming from here.
But does your child currently really care about what time the clock says on it?
That's not what my child cares about. That's what I care about.
No. I'm saying so.
That's true. That's a good point.
She's waking up during the night or during the day when you're still trying to sleep. And
yeah, she did it last night. I haven't slept since 1:30, man.
And she doesn't care if it's 1:30 or not.
She doesn't care about anything.
She doesn't care if you've got to set the clock an hour back or an hour
she doesn't
ahead.
care if I'm really cranky and want her to go to bed.
This is not for her. But in, let's say, 10 years when she's coming off the school bus at 3:30 in the afternoon, or you've picked her up and you're coming home, you'd have a couple hours of daylight.
What if I homeschool my child?
I don't see that happening for you.
I've said what if.
Then you would have extra daylight in the afternoon.
I'm with you on this.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
I got you.
I mean, yeah, just because, I don't know, changing time, I hate when I walk out of my office and it's dark outside. I cannot stand that. Mm-hmm. I do not mind going to work when it's dark.
No, I don't either.
I mean, I like it early. I like early dark. That's great. I love that. But man, you leave the office at 5 o'clock and it's pitch black outside. There's no need for that.
No, and you get home and you can't do anything outside unless you're going to mow your grass in the dark.
And I don't even do that in the daylight. So,
no, I'm 100%. That's why I like the idea of this.
Where do you think the president stands on this? Do you think he's for daylight savings?
I try not to think about where the president stands on things, just because I don't want to
spring forward. It's the most beautiful spring forward you've ever seen.
For those of you listening, I understand that you can't see my face, but I'm making sorts of faces right now. I'm not trying to be silent and create dead air on the show here. So yeah. Oh, that's where I thought that was an interesting story. Again, I don't know if it's going to pass or not, but I do want to keep my eye on it because it makes a pretty big difference.
Now, where's the bill right now? Is it past the Senate?
No, I think it's only been introduced.
All right, so it's not going to go anywhere.
We'll see.
I don't think so.
Who knows?
Yeah.
What else you got for us?
That's it. I've got nothing else.
That's it. I feel like those are some pretty big stories this week. So that'll do it for episode 36. As we mention every week on our website, redmountainexpress.com, we have show notes. You can stream our show there if you would like. We are also available on podcast services around the world as well as Spotify.
Are you telling me we're an international podcast?
We are an international podcast. We actually have had some website or podcast downloads in Russia, interestingly enough.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
This is what I get for talking about Donald Trump.
Exactly. So
I love your
check
podcast.
us out on Spotify.
It's a
check
great
us out
podcast.
on our website. See our show notes for links to these articles that we've talked about, and for some other information. Of course, we are on Facebook and Instagram, so if you want to leave us a comment there, please do that. If you want to dog some of Blake's impersonations of
You
various
didn't like my
political
Russian
figures,
impersonation?
please,
Come on.
please
it was
go there and do
good.
that. And that'll do it for our show, and we'll be back next week.
Really, you didn't like my Russian impersonation?
I have a hard time with impersonations all the way around.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You know what you do impersonate? A Star Wars fan. Have a good day. Have a good week, everybody.